got this awesome t-shirt from Brett over at Skull Spade, and I wanted to do something special with it. So I decided to do some weaving, which would fit the style and the message pretty well. All you need is a t-shirt, scissors and a bit of guts. No sewing required. Well, I did end up doing some sewing in the end, but that was just me trying to be extra fancy, so just forget about that part. Also, it will reduce the size of the shirt a bit, so use a shirt that's a bit loose. At this point I called in the help of my stunt double. You can do this with the shirt flat on the table too. Actually, that's probably easier. I sketched the shape I was looking for to see if I liked the look. You want to avoid going across any seams, because they'll come loose when you cut through them. This shirt doesn't have any side seams, so I can go across the side no problem. Make sure the shirt is lying flat and straight. I used some pins to make sure the layers wouldn't shift. Making those first cuts can be a little bit nerve-wracking, especially if you really like the shirt. But once you get going, it quickly turns from scary to fun. And maybe just practice on an ugly shirt first to boost your confidence a bit. Keep cutting strips up to the marked line until you reach the end. I'm calling in my stunt double again so I can show the weaving better, but again you can do this on the table as well. For the weaving, start at the smallest strand. Pick up the strand underneath and pull it behind the first strand and through the hole, giving you a loop. Then pick up the next strand and pull it through this loop from back to front. Keep going like this all the way down, every time pulling the next strand through the loop, creating a new loop. When you reach the bottom, cut the last strand in half. Then tie a knot with each end in the last loop to secure it. Now you can rearrange the weaving if you want. And I pushed mine all the way to the side because I want to add a second weave in the middle. This second weave is very similar to the first one, but the only difference is that I'll twist the loop once before pulling the next strand through. This makes a single line of weaving, almost a bit like a braid. When you reach the bottom, again cut the last strand in half and tie 2 knots through the last loop. And that's the side done. Now on to the neck. Folding the shirt won't work here, so I put a notebook inside the shirt to make sure I don't cut through the back. I made little snips to get started and then cut strands up to my lines again. I start weaving at the smallest strand again, using the same approach as on the side. So I'm just pulling each strand through the loop, creating a new loop. This is actually very similar to knitting, it's just only 1 stitch wide. Again, I cut the last strand in half to tie knots and secure the weaving. You can leave it here and call it done, but I decided to be a bit extra fancy and give the neckline a more polished finish. This is completely unnecessary, so feel free to say, "Ain't nobody got time for that," and just skip this part. I separated the ribbing along the neckline from the last strip of t-shirt fabric. I used those strips to tie the knots and secure the weaving. And then I sewed the ribbing back onto the neckline, but slowly tapering it to make a smooth transition to the weaving. Like I said, totally unnecessary, it just looks extra fancy. And there you have it. Oh, I also changed the sleeves a bit, but I have another video on how to do that, so I'm not going to go into it now. There are many possible variations to this weaving technique. For example, the holes along the neck are a lot bigger than the holes on the side, and that's because I cut wider strips there. You can experiment with all sorts of things, like different locations, shapes, strip widths, weave patterns, anything. Just have fun with it. One final note for you guys. I am going to be washing the shirt in the washing machine, but only inside one of these mesh bags. That way nothing can get caught up in the weaving, and it'll last a lot longer. Alright, I think that's it with the t-shirt videos for now. Thanks for watching as always, and I'll see you next time.